okay? You can pay for it any time in advance if you'd like, right? But essentially about a week out prior to open is when we try to get that payment taken care of. But we don't have a building permit fee, all right? Any other questions? Okay. Okay, I believe environmental will handle that. Do you handle grease interceptors? Okay, write that question down. I'm not going to be dealing with grease and interceptors probably. The only time the health department really deals with the grease interceptor if they say you can have a grease interceptor in your space. But I don't think that's part of the design. Normally I think the terminals are going to have maybe one grease interceptor. I'm not really sure how it goes, but we're not going to deal with it. The airport will be dealing.
From each concession space, we will be having a grease line, and there will be 3 collection spots in terminal, and it will be lined down to the land side, and there will be a pickup spot. You don't need one.
Okay, good. And we like that too. Okay, so, all right. That's all I have. If you have any questions, go ahead and give me a call or send me an email. I'll be able to get with you as soon as possible. Thank you.
Good morning. I'm Dina Henry. I'm the Construction Application Review Coordinator for Environmental Affairs out here at DFW Airport. I also have my coworker, Merrick Kendall, is here with me. He's our Asbestos Program Manager. So if you have any asbestos questions after the slides, he'll probably address those. I'm just gonna, I have very brief slides just to talk about the permitting process, the environmental permitting process, which is an inside part of the permitting process as a whole. We just want to make sure that your project follows all applicable rules, regulations, and airport requirements and guidelines. For a tenant interior finish out, this is strictly, I'm just going to talk about interior projects. Your typical regulations that would apply are going to be asbestos, sanitary discharges such as maybe fire suppression water, spill reporting and cleanup or spill response, and waste disposal. When you turn your plans into the Building Standards Department, one of those sets of plans will come over to Environmental Affairs. At that point, I will contact typically the applicant or the contractor. If I've worked with the contractor a lot, I may go straight to them. I contact them right away because I need to set up a meeting. It's called the Environmental Permit Review Questionnaire Meeting, where they come in, sit down with me. I have a questionnaire that I fill out with them. It takes about 20-minute meeting, depending on the project, but most tenant finish outs are pretty quick. The applicant, meaning maybe the owner, is welcome to attend, but I really need to meet with your contractor. So if at the time I get the permit application there's not a contractor yet, I'll still call you, but I usually want you to wait until you've got a contractor on board before we meet. Because the main thing that I need to address with the permit is the means and methods of waste handling and things like that during construction. Once I meet with the contractor, at that point, I'll tell them what documents they'll need to submit to Environmental Affairs for their permit approval. Typically, on a tenant finish out will be a waste management plan, and these are all templates that we provide to the contractor. They're on our website. They're out on dfwairport.com. When you open that page up on the bottom left, it'll say environmental sustainability, I think. And if you click there, it'll take you to our page where it'll have a link to all of our documents and templates. The waste plan just requires you to list any and all waste that you're going to have to dispose of, liquid or solid, during construction. We're not concerned with anything post-construction. The spill response plan is another template that you'll fill out for us. It's a lot of instruction on what to do if you have a spill, who to call, who to notify, what, cleanup requirements. But there's a few places that'll prompt you to fill in some information throughout the document. It's just a 3-page document. Both of the documents are relatively easy to fill out. They won't take very long. And if you have any questions or need any assistance to fill them out, you can always call me or email me. Once you fill them out and sign them, you can scan them electronically and email them back to me. You can fax them or you can drop them off. I'll review them if they're correct. Then those will be complete and you'll be done with that. When I receive the permit application, when I call you before we meet, one of the other documents that I'll inquire about is the asbestos survey. Some are turned in with the plans, most are not. So I'll inquire about that. If you're in the process of getting one done, you'll need to submit it to me, and then what I do is I forward it on to Merrick Kendall, and he reviews it with the plans. He'll send me any comments that he has on the asbestos survey, and I'll forward them on to you until we get a complete submission. Once all of those things are done, I send my approval over to Building Standards that EAD is satisfied and has received all the required information for permit approval. Once your project is approved, you'll be assigned a QA/QC inspector from EAD that may visit your project once, twice. They may not come at all. It just depends on their schedule and how long your project takes. Once your project is complete, you'll submit the environmental closeout checklist, which will be in your permit packet that you'll get from Building Standards when you get your permit approval. You'll fill that checklist out and you'll turn it in with all your MSDSs to Building Standards. I believe they go straight to Naresh Shahani. I'll get those, they'll be reviewed, and once if everything looks okay, then I'll send my approval for closure over to Naresh. Environmental typically doesn't get involved with TCOs. We're strictly involved with the final CO, so we typically don't hold up a TCO for any reason. There may be a special circumstance that I can't think of one, and that's it. I've brought lots of cards. If anybody wants a card, just come see me after the presentation. And I guess if anybody has any questions. Yes, sir.
Excuse me, for the specific retail spaces, is there any type of survey available that gives us an idea of what asbestos might be in the spaces? Or is each tenant really required to address that?
What the airport's willing to do is we will give you whatever data that we have, whether it's sample data or MSDSs that we can provide upon request to you so that you can use that with the aid of an asbestos consultant to go over and determine if there's any asbestos hazards in your retail location. I'm sorry, could you repeat that again?
So is it generally known that there's asbestos there? Is that why it's being brought up, or?
These are older buildings. They do have asbestos-containing materials in them. During the renovation project, it isn't for certain at this time if complete abatement is going to occur. What is certain is whatever is going to be disturbed will be abated if it is asbestos-containing material. So I can't really give you a set answer of whether or not there's going to be anything in your lease space.
I am not an expert in this, so forgive me. On a previous project, we found that we were told by a landlord's agent who was leasing the space that if we did not disturb the asbestos,